Welcome to Talk Therapy with Penny Queen. Today I have the CheckLight Program Director, Rob Hegedus, and former CEO of Sarah Brin. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, I'm very excited to have you on today because I figured that you are the man to talk to about all things CheckLight.
Fair enough.
We've just had a really exciting announcement last week about FIG, Financial Independence Group. And I want to make sure that all of the investors actually understand what CheckLight is. So my first question is, what is the core problem that CheckLight solves that others in cybersecurity miss?
Financial peace of mind. It's
Our-
at its core. Yeah, CheckLight is a supplemental cyber financial protection product wrapped around endpoint detection and response technology. So usually when I get asked what CheckLight is, it was created to democratize cybersecurity to the most underserved market in the US, which is small businesses and families, but getting it there through traditional insurance placement channels.
All right. How does the warranty component change the value proposition?
Um, so when people think about a traditional warranty, say for a toaster or a fridge or whatever else, it's, if I pay X amount of money and it doesn't work, I'll get that X amount of money back. We had to use the term warranty because it's technically not insurance, but it is underwritten, right? So when you buy CheckLight, you actually get $1.5 million worth of financial protection, which means if we don't notify you and a breach occurs, you're covered up to 1.5 million annually. It's a 1 million supplement per incident, so a million supplement. And some people use that with if they have existing policies, like, well, this can cover my deductible, and then they can go back to their carrier and renegotiate premium costs and everything else. Before small businesses and families and individuals, they usually don't carry around a significant standalone cyber policy. And so this is a way that is being taken to market as a supplemental cyber financial protection product. So it is underwritten by global carriers.
Can you walk me through a real world breach scenario and what would trigger it?
Sure. So, boy, these happen all the time. It's funny when you ask a cybersecurity guy, "Hey, can you walk me through a breach?" Like, yeah, what happened 10 minutes ago? So yeah, they happen, and the reason it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but what people don't realize is this happens all the time. And it really hasn't hit the social zeitgeist yet on this is what people need to be talking about all the time. But it is, and it's bad, and it's getting exponentially worse. And I know our CEO has made that comment a few times as well. So normally, what happens is people get breached, then they kind of freak out. They don't know what to do. If they're lucky enough to have an in-house IT capability, they'll talk to their IT folks. They'll have to bring in outside legal counsel because there's a lot of legal requirements on notifications and everything else. Then you have to bring in most likely a forensics team to find out what happened, hopefully save what hasn't been stolen. And then the fun really starts. If you're a CheckLight client, there's a 1-800 number, there's a third party claims assessor, um, and it goes through traditional forensics channels. But we have about 100 million hours of runtime so far, and we haven't allowed any breach to go through.
Okay,
So
a hundred million hours of runtime
yeah,
and no allowed breaches.
no allowed breaches.
That's a very important piece there. All right, so what's the difference between this and antivirus?
Antivirus, we like to say, again, from my military background, that's kind of right of the bang. So it's looking for things that have already affected other computers. It's signature based. Whereas a lot of the sophisticated malware targeting small businesses, although it was very focused on enterprise 15 years ago and cost a lot of money to make, now with automation and AI, they're being created continuously, which means like 0 days, no one's ever seen before. Antivirus is not going to catch that, but you can go on the dark web and not only buy a pretty sophisticated piece of malware for probably $400. You can actually rent or lease a ransomware as a service and just find a target and go after those targets. And we've seen that happen as well. So CheckLight is an EDR. It's meant to find that sophisticated malware that is going to get access to your bank accounts, to your PII, personal identifiable information, anything that has value on the dark web. And the advancements in programming and really artificial intelligence is what people call it, but it's very advanced algorithms. You really have to fight fire with fire. If that's um, the type of salvos that are coming after the small businesses and families in the U.S. today, you have to have the same level of defense and technology to stop it.
Okay, so on a simpler level, if I had CheckLight and somebody was able to breach, my computer and get a hold of my banking information from that, would I be covered?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about the FIG distribution model and who's
Sure.
actually offering CheckLight.
Sure. So because we're taking CheckLight to market as a supplemental cyber financial product, we figured out that the distribution model has to mimic your traditional insurance placement business model, right? So you have the underwriter, you have the broker, you have the managing general agent, then you have the agencies, and then you have the individual agents that already have the established relationship with the families or the small businesses. And what we've done is we partnered with the managing general agent right in the middle of that process. So the distribution channel is already there. It's been there as long as the insurance has been for sale, which means we're not talking to the IT folks directly. We're talking to the risk managers. We're talking to the CFOs. We're talking to the folks that are worried about the balance sheet and the risk profile of the family or the business. The cool thing is the MGAs have additional relationships with payment processors, with PEO firms, and payroll companies, and so forth and so on. And that's where to go to the press release that you mentioned, FIG falls under that category. They have thousands of agents that have personal relationships with families and small businesses, and this is going to be part of the insurance placement discussion that they have with them as well. Again, it's an already established distribution channel. We're just offering a supplemental cyber financial product wrapped around a technology.
Wow. So you kind of answered this already, but why did you choose to go through advisor and insurance channels instead of the traditional IT route?
Because the one thing that people are worried most about cybersecurity is the financial loss. There's reputational and there's everything else, but it really comes back to risk mitigation and risk management. And small business owners trust three people. They trust their lawyer, they trust their accountant, and they trust their insurance broker. So if you can get your product through one of those three, and in this case, the insurance broker, from a risk management perspective, you have a much higher likelihood in making the case, honestly.
All right. Then that leads me to my next question. How big is the real addressable market?
The current, based on my sources within the insurance industry, the penetration for standalone cyber policies for U.S.-based small and medium-sized businesses is right around 7%. So the real addressable market is 93% of all U.S. businesses. So roughly, if they bought the smallest package of endpoints for the protection, roughly about 45 billion annually.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot out there.
It is.
This is
So we have an addressable market that wants financial protection against cyber loss. They don't have the technical acumen. We're offering that with the technology, and we're distributing it through already established distribution channels through a source that they trust. And the fact that we are underwritten by global carriers means they've already looked under the hood through our breach efficacy, technology efficacy, everything, for them to go, yep, this is a way for us to take the capacity and offer it to retail as a form of financial protection.
How does CheckLight compare to the likes of CrowdStrike, SentinelOne, Sophos, or others, in terms of protection and value delivery?
Sure. The core technology has been tested through independent third parties. I can reference the AV Comparatives Report 2024, which is in November and December of last year, and we're on par with everyone else. As a matter of fact, in some cases, we do a little better I believe one of the things they tested was, um, does it, slow down your laptop or your computer, or does it mess with any of their systems? And our core technology actually scored best in that. So you won't even know it's running in the background. Yeah.
Oh, how's it different in terms of value, though?
Well, if you want to get a traditional warranty with another endpoint detection and response technology, and there's a lot out there, there's like 76 EDRs on the market that I know of. Not all of them provide warranties, but they use the kind of the traditional warranty model where if you spend $10 with us and it doesn't work, you get your $10 back. Um, some will raise that number, but you also have to raise your buy or have a minimum number like 399, or you have to buy 500 endpoints. Most small businesses really don't need 399 endpoints. The traditional cybersecurity sales model has been to large enterprises, right? I mean, because that's where the big money is. And it is not cost effective to take your sales team that's going after the large enterprise clients and start cold calling small businesses. It doesn't work. You have to find an established distribution channel that already has those relationships. That's why, to answer your earlier question, we're going through the insurance model.
Do you think the market understands how different this is, especially I guess the warranty-backed model?
I think they're starting to. And one of the things that held us back is just the word warranty to begin with, right? And I'm not a licensed insurance broker, so I can't sell insurance. And I remember in 2019, late 2019, we were sitting around a table, all the insurance executives, banking executives. I was still CEO of my company at the time. We're trying to figure out how do we package this thing, because we had a request from the ISO community to put something together for the card brands for distribution in early 2020, for small businesses going through the payment processors. The problem is COVID kind of got in the way, so um, that put a hiatus on that, because ironically we were supposed to launch 1 April of 2020, which is when COVID kind of shut everything down. But what I remember from that discussion is we had two talking points. One, this is a different model. So what's it going to be, an insurance policy backed with a lot of technology, or was it going to be technology backed by an insurance policy? And the decision was made that because folks like me are not licensed insurance brokers, let's go with technology underwritten, but the terminology is what I think we hit a brick wall with early on, because the term warranty, when people think of warranty, they think of like a fridge or a car or a toaster or whatever else. And this is different. This is actual financial protection underwritten by a global carrier, but we have to use the term warranty because it's technically not insurance. There's no deductible. You don't have to fill out any forms. All you have to do is download the software and you're covered.
So I think what really makes it stand out is that it does pay out first. It's between
Yes,
you and the actual insurance that you could be carrying.
right,
And I think for insurance carriers, that's a critical piece, because right now they don't really have a way to tell, what what your cyber hygiene is, right? Like,
right.
before they give you life insurance, they might give you, a blood test to see what's actually going on. This is giving them that whole checklist. I mean, you gave me an analogy earlier about fire insurance and
Right. Smoke
and
detector.
would you go ahead and tell everyone, because I
Sure.
love this.
So I've heard this analogy before. So CheckLight, and it actually resonated with some folks we were talking to. You can either go out and apply for fire insurance. If you're in central and northern California, that could be kind of tough, or other places that are prone to wildfires, and hope you get a good policy. Or what if you had the option of a company had a warranty? Again, I use the W word. Um, Smoke detector, that if the smoke detector failed to beep, they buy you a new house. Not only that, but as soon as it does beep, the fire department's at your house within a second.
That's that that's beautiful for so many reasons, because like cyber insurance, fire insurance is really difficult to get certain places, and it is cost prohibitive.
That's right.
So this
Absolutely.
is that's a perfect analogy. Um, for investors, what should they be watching to gauge CheckLight's traction in the next 2 quarters?
Well, the distribution channels are starting to go live pretty soon. So I would say It'll be incremental at first, especially as word gets out, because we're going to be using a lot of different carriers and PEO firms and payroll companies and everything else. Again, all through relationships already pre-established with the managing general agents, right? So it's not like we're basically taking something that we know people want and we're putting it into a system that already sells to them, if that makes sense. So I think the 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 numbers that will tell the story are going to be the number of endpoints that we have placed over the next few quarters.
Okay. And I'm going to just mention right now to everyone that I'm going to put a link below this video. Is an investor in CISO did his own projections of what he thought the company could be worth stock wise based on different amounts of endpoints and different penetration levels for sales. And I'm going to put that down below. Again, it's not from the company, or he's not related to the company, but it was very well done. And I think it adds a lot of context for what these individual sales do, what the individual sales will mean to the company and the bottom line. So I would like everybody to take a look at that. Just a couple more questions for you here. I want to know if you had 30 seconds to tell a family why they should care about CheckLight, what would you say to them?
I would first ask the family, how much cyber insurance do you have? And 99% of the time, the answer is going to be zero. And so, well, what's your cyber financial protection should something go wrong? In most cases, they really don't know. And we've had a lot of success with individual families, again, one-on-one, not through distribution channels yet. But like, if you were able to get $1.5 million worth of protection, and all you had to do was download something on your laptop that sat in the background and notified you, and every Sunday sent you an email saying you're still good to go, which people love. And if you're not, it would notify you via your dashboard, via text message, via whatever else, and it would quarantine it. It would stop it. And if it got through, we'd cover up to $1.5 million. Is that something that you'd be interested in? And invariably, the answer is yes.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, you give me the opportunity, I'll sell it.
All right.
So can you give me any real life examples of CheckLight at work?
Sure. So we had one of our efficacy review examples was for a large religious institution here in the U.S. Very large. I can't name who they are, but they're self-insured. So I think I told you back in 2013, we brought on one of the larger banks here on the East Coast as an equity partner. That's because they had ties into the insurance industry. We knew back then, we didn't know how, but we knew back then cyber was going to be tied to the insurance revenue model per se. And so they introduced us to, even though the carriers were like, it might be a little early still, they introduced us to the risk retention groups and captives. So the self-insured, the large self-insured entities that are sitting on the capital that they lose if they get breached. And one of the larger religious institutions had about 240 parishes, schools, assisted living facilities, and they were losing about, and when I say losses, like paying out between $500,000 to $750,000 a year in breach recovery expenses. That doesn't include ransoms. That's just having to replace all the laptops in school, having to notify people, everything else. We and this is one of the things the global carriers looked at before they gave us the underwriting capacity for CheckLight. We threw CheckLight on each one of those 240, which in and of themselves represent small businesses because they all run separately. They all have their own networks. In some cases, maybe one or two computers. You have really nobody in charge of cybersecurity. If they do, it's like a fifth additional duty. And within a year, we brought their loss ratio from $750,000 down to 0.
That's impressive. And that's
Yeah. So from a carrier's perspective, if you can bring claims down significantly, then you can bring the cost of the insurance down, which means you can again democratize it to a larger group of people. You can protect more people. You bring more people into the pool at a less cost, and it's kind of a win-win-win for everyone. We just needed to find a way to not break the model, but actually make it more make it better for the small businesses, more efficient.
This is, I think of it in terms of these, I'm thinking of it at the family level a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what I relate to more, but also small businesses, especially like medical and dental offices, that
Absolutely.
really have very important, like they have that protected health information to protect, and that they have a very strong reason to protect that information because they can get sued. And
Absolutely.
but thinking of it in terms of financial protection, I think makes it a lot more clear, because I know that cyber is something that a lot of people don't really think about. It's, you hear that this whole system got shut down, they lost their servers, this and that, but the actual numbers, I was told that about $280 billion was spent last year on cybersecurity, but
Yeah.
the losses were, I think it was $10.5 trillion.
Yeah, that's almost 10% of global GDP. Think about that. That's
Which
crazy. Yeah. And what we cover in the amount, none of the other warranties are going to cover ransoms, business interruption, data loss, or third-party liability. We do.
those are really important pieces.
Those are huge pieces,
So,
especially
I
from a
mean,
carrier perspective.
that's
Yeah.
okay. Well, I think everybody's going to have a better idea of exactly what this is, and I'm looking forward to hearing those sales channels come online and hearing more about it as we go. Can you tell me first? I completely forgot to ask how you ended up with CISO.
After we did the very positive real world test, the efficacy test that I mentioned earlier, we started getting a lot of interest. Like, wow, this is really going to go someplace. I had sold off the consulting side of the business in order to self-finance the development of this. So, right, it's either going to work or I'm going to live under a bridge. That's the entrepreneur's dilemma. And we're like, okay, now we need a very sophisticated back end with some of the best cybersecurity talent on the planet, from a forensics capability, all of the corporate back office needs, development, everything. So the decision was either go out and get capital and build it from scratch, or find a world-class partner. And we looked around, and CISO Global is, I don't have to tell you, they are phenomenal. And I met with the CEO, Dave, and we did a little digging, and they're like, these guys are, yeah, this is who we want to be partnered with. So I think we have the best partner on the planet, um, which is what you want to have before you blow up.
All right. So perfect. So, for investors, telling the story of how CISO, how they rolled out this plan of, putting together all this technology, and that it was in several phases, to hear that, from an acquisition standpoint, like they're making really good choices, being able to put this together. Uh,
Absolutely.
this is going to be a game changer. So,
Yeah, we really needed a really strong, technically adept company like CISO Global to get to the step that we're at now. I think if we did it ourselves, it would have taken too long and kind of missed the beginning part of the market opportunity. But they're visionaries like we are. And yeah, it's a great company to be part of.
well, I love the first mover advantage here,
Yep,
like 1,000%. So, all right. Well, thank you for joining me today, and
absolutely.
I look forward to seeing you again.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Penny. Cheers.